unfortunately is touched very, very often by increasing natural disasters. There is no need, I suppose, to remind you what has just happened in Valencia, in Spain, where more than 200 people have died. Thousands are out of their own home, millions of euro disaster, etc., etc. As I said, too often these two issues are seen as antagonists, but as expert of the sector, you know more than me that they are not. We're just to find the way to find the right balance between the economic development and environment protection. And this is the reason why we are here. So it's a very challenging reason, let's say. But I don't want to talk too much. I prefer to give the word to the expert. This morning, as you know, there is a more political table with some member, actual member and former member of the European Parliament, where we talk about more what you can do to realize, to make real this marriage, let's say, by these two very important issues. In the afternoon, there will be more technical roundtables where we talk about also the policy manifesto for European competitiveness that the European Federation of Geologists, that is the organizer, the real organizer of these events, so thanks to them, present this manifesto to the European institution. So, let me give the word to our speaker. First of all, thanks to the member of the European Parliament, Susanna Ceccardi, that unfortunately is not with us today. She's the host of this event. We will see her in a video message. Then we have the president of the EFG, Govoni, from Italy. The Spanish member of the European Parliament, Nicolás González. The professor of EFG, Janos, Szanyi. Hope I pronounce right the name. I try to train for this interaction. Then we have Maureen Gallagher, EFG Global Ambassador, and Fabio Castaldo, former Vice President of the European Parliament. So we can start with this video message by Susanna Ceccardi, and then we talk with our speaker here. Madam Ceccardi.
Buongiorno a tutti. Ringrazio innanzitutto l'European Federation of Geologists per aver promosso questo incontro strategico tra rappresentanti delle istituzioni europee e della comunità professionale delle geoscienze, fornendoci l'occasione per allineare priorità strategiche, discutere azioni chiave e favorire un dialogo costruttivo su temi più urgenti del settore. Saluto David Govoni, presidente dell'EFG, Inon Codescu, Head of Unit Land Use and Management di GEMV, Cristina Lovillo Borrero, Maureen Gallagher e tutti i colleghi europarlamentari presenti. Saluto inoltre i presidenti e direttori esecutivi di 27 associazioni nazionali di geoscienze che partecipano a questo convegno insieme a delegati di importanti partnership internazionali. Materie prime critiche, cambiamento climatico e transizione energetica. Questi sono temi che non possiamo più ignorare, ma dobbiamo affrontare con una visione chiara, pragmatica e soprattutto col coraggio di prendere decisioni che mettano al centro gli interessi dei cittadini europei. In questi anni l'Europa ha intrapreso una strada che si è rivelata purtroppo non solo inefficace, ma anche pericolosa per la nostra competitività e per la nostra indipendenza energetica. Mi riferisco in particolare al Green Deal europeo, un piano che qualcuno ha presentato come la soluzione di tutti i mali del nostro tempo, ma che si sta rivelando una trappola per l'industria, per l'impresa europea, per i lavoratori del nostro continente. Guardiamo prima di tutto al tema delle materie prime critiche. L'Europa è completamente dipendente da altri paesi, in particolare dalla Cina, per l'approvvigionamento di queste risorse fondamentali per la transizione energetica e la produzione tecnologica. Rari metalli come il litio, il cobalto, il grafene, il nichel sono essenziali per la realizzazione delle batterie elettriche, dei pannelli solari e di tutte quelle tecnologie che dovrebbero, secondo i progetti del Green Deal, alimentare la nostra transizione energetica. L'Europa è in grandissimo ritardo rispetto agli Stati Uniti e alla Cina su questo fronte, mentre i nostri competitors, come la Cina, hanno creato una rete consolidata di approvvigionamento e di estrazione estrazioni delle materie prime critiche, l'Europa continua a dipendere da questi paesi esterni. La politica europea di decarbonizzazione e di transizione energetica è spesso accompagnata da regolamenti che rendono quasi impossibile per le imprese europee operare in modo competitivo. Perché l'Europa non ha saputo sviluppare una politica di approvvigionamento delle materie prime critiche a differenza di Cina e Stati Uniti? Perché ci siamo accontentati di sottoscrivere accordi climatici internazionali senza avere un piano serio e concreto per rafforzare la nostra indipendenza su queste risorse vitali. L'Europa della von der Leyen ha preferito inseguire modelli ideologici, acritici, che hanno avuto come risultato la nostra progressiva subalternità ai paesi terzi, anziché investire in strategie pratiche per garantire il nostro futuro energetico industriale. Comunque, al netto delle critiche, l'Europa si trova oggi a fronteggiare una doppia sfida che di fatto non può eludere. Da un lato la necessità di ridurre le emissioni di gas serra, dall'altro la crescente domanda di materie prime critiche necessarie per le tecnologie energetiche rinnovabili e per la transizione verso un sistema energetico sostenibile. In questo contesto i geologi possono e devono svolgere un ruolo di primo piano per garantire che la transizione energetica avvenga in modo sicuro ed efficiente. Il contributo è indispensabile sia nell'esplorazione, estrazione e gestione delle risorse naturali, sia nello sviluppo di soluzioni innovative per l'utilizzo delle risorse geologiche in modo responsabile. Attraverso studi di valutazione delle risorse, i geologi possono contribuire a garantire che le operazioni di estrazione siano sicure, minimizzando il rischio dei danni ambientali, come la contaminazione delle acque e la distruzione degli habitat naturali. Un altro aspetto fondamentale in cui i geologi giocano un ruolo di primaria importanza riguarda la progettazione e la gestione delle infrastrutture energetiche, come le reti di trasmissione, i siti per lo stoccaggio di energia e l'immagazzinamento del CO2. Questi progetti richiedono una profonda conoscenza delle condizioni geologiche del sottosuolo, sia per garantire la stabilità delle strutture, sia per evitare il rischio di incidenti e malfunzionamenti. Allo stesso tempo, la progettazione e la realizzazione di impianti di accumulo energetico, come quelli basati sulla geotermia o sull'idroelettrico, richiedono competenze geologiche avanzate per valutare le risorse sotterranee e la stabilità del terreno. Quindi la geotermia in particolare è una risorsa che l'Europa può e deve valorizzare. Tratta di una fonte energetica costante, pulita, a basso impatto ambientale, che non solo può ridurre la dipendenza dai combustibili fossili, ma può anche contribuire significativamente alle emissioni di CO2. La presenza di importanti giacimenti geotermici, come in Toscana in particolare, da dove vengo, deve essere sfruttata non solo per generare energia, ma per sviluppare nuove tecnologie di estrazione, ampliando il potenziale di questa risorsa. I geologi quindi sono fondamentali per determinare la presenza di fonti di calore sotterranee sfruttabili in modo economicamente vantaggioso e ambientalmente sicuro. Investire in geotermia di nuova generazione significa creare innovazione e sicurezza energetica. Dobbiamo sottolineare che il futuro energetico europeo richiede investimenti decisi non solo nelle infrastrutture e nelle tecnologie, ma anche nella formazione e nella ricerca. Per competere a livello globale serve un forte sostegno agli istituti di ricerca e alla formazione tecnica. Dobbiamo creare un ecosistema che favorisca la collaborazione tra settore pubblico, privato e accademico, mettendo le professioni, in particolare i geologi e gli altri professionisti delle geoscienze, al centro di questa trasformazione. Siamo tutti d'accordo sul fatto che il cambiamento climatico sia una questione di grande importanza. Ma la narrazione che ci viene continuamente imposta, quello di un cambiamento climatico antropogenico indiscutibile, che impone un'urgenza immediata, un'azione draconiana, ha bisogno di essere esaminata con più attenzione. Non deve essere considerata un'eresia mettere in discussione la visione dominante, che ci racconta che l'unica strada percorribile è quella della totale decarbonizzazione senza considerare adeguatamente condizioni sociali, economiche, geopolitiche. La domanda che dobbiamo porci è se stiamo perseguendo le giuste soluzioni. Prima però vorrei rapidamente toccare un tema direttamente connesso a quello del cambiamento climatico. Mi riferisco al rischio idrogeologico, un problema sempre più urgente per il nostro continente che interessa milioni di cittadini e aree produttive. L'Europa in particolare, l'Italia, è un territorio fortemente esposto a fenomeni naturali come le frane e le alluvioni, aggravate non solo e non tanto dai cambiamenti climatici, ma soprattutto da una gestione inadeguata del territorio. Non possiamo più permetterci di intervenire solo a posteriori dopo che i disastri si sono verificati con costi umani e economici enormi. Serve una strategia di prevenzione efficace che parta da un'analisi dettagliata delle criticità idrogeologiche che sia sostenuta da investimenti strutturali adeguati. In questo contesto una delle soluzioni più urgenti è quella della costruzione e del potenziamento di invasi e delle infrastrutture per la gestione delle risorse idriche. Gli invasi quindi sono fondamentali sui nostri territori. Si tratta di opere che permettono di raccogliere e immagazzinare l'acqua in eccesso durante le precipitazioni abbondanti per poi utilizzarla in momenti di scarsità, garantendo un approvvigionamento idrico stabile per l'agricoltura, l'industria e il consumo civile. Ma per realizzare queste infrastrutture non bastano le buone intenzioni, servono le risorse economiche e un quadro normativo che favorisca la realizzazione in tempi rapidi. Dobbiamo quindi chiedere con forza che i fondi europei, inclusi quelli del Green Deal e dei programmi di resilienza climatica, siano destinati anche alla costruzione e al finanziamento di invasi, alle opere di difesa del suolo, alla messa in sicurezza delle aree a rischio. Questi interventi non solo proteggono il territorio e salvano vite umane, ma creano posti di lavoro e opportunità per le nostre imprese, rappresentando un investimento concreto nel futuro delle nostre comunità. E il contributo dei geologi, anche in questo caso, è imprescindibile. Sono i geologi a conoscere a fondo le dinamiche del suolo e del sottosuolo, a valorizzare la stabilità dei terreni, individuare soluzioni tecniche più efficaci per ridurre il rischio idrogeologico. Tornando alla decarbonizzazione totale proposta dal Green Deal europeo, è innegabile che ciò rischi di rivelarsi un salto del buio per l'industria europea, se non accompagniamo la transizione con politiche realistiche e sostenibili. La rapida e forzata spinta verso l'elettrificazione dei trasporti, delle abitazioni, delle industrie non è solo tecnicamente complessa, ma rischia di distruggere posti di lavoro, minare la competitività della nostra economia, aumentare la povertà energetica. L'Europa ha deciso di puntare tutto sulle energie rinnovabili, ma oggi sappiamo che non basta. Le energie rinnovabili, pur rappresentando una parte importante della soluzione, sono intermittenti, dipendono da condizioni climatiche che non possiamo controllare, perché l'Europa non ha investito in modo massiccio su nuove tecnologie come la fusione nucleare o sull'idrogeno verde, che potrebbero garantire energia pulita e costante, perché stiamo sacrificando le nostre industrie e il nostro benessere sociale su un altarino ideologico, senza concretamente pensare a come mantenere il nostro stile di vita e la nostra competitività. Quindi il Green Deal europeo è un esempio di come la politica possa distaccarsi talvolta dalla realtà. È un piano che, se non rivisitato, rischia di ridurre la nostra economia a una periferia globale, dove l'Europa sarà solo un mercato per le tecnologie cinesi e americane, senza un'industria propria che possa competere su scala globale. Noi non possiamo permettere che il Green Deal diventi una tassa sul nostro sviluppo, una tassa sulle nostre imprese e sui nostri cittadini. Non possiamo smantellare progressivamente interi settori industriali come quello del gas, del carbone e del petrolio senza un'alternativa concreta e affidabile che garantisca stabilità energetica per le famiglie e imprese europee. Non possiamo permettere un modello che rischia di deindustrializzare il nostro continente, di aumentare la disoccupazione e creare una classe sociale sempre più povera. Quindi fermiamoci a riflettere. L'Europa non deve sacrificare la propria capacità produttiva in nome di una transizione che non tiene conto dei nostri reali bisogni energetici. E mentre noi stiamo cercando di smantellare la nostra industria a causa di normative ambientali sempre più stringenti, Cina e Stati Uniti continuano a investire e espandere la loro capacità industriale, portandoci sempre più lontano dalla competizione globale. Cosa fare allora? Dobbiamo ridare potere all'industria europea, alle imprese e ai cittadini. Dobbiamo rivedere la nostra politica energetica, garantire l'accesso alle materie prime critiche e non permettere che la nostra economia venga schiacciata da un Green Deal che non è realizzabile senza un piano di accompagnamento per le imprese e per i cittadini. Basta essere spettatori passivi nel grande gioco geopolitico mondiale. Dobbiamo riprendere il nostro futuro. Non possiamo permettere che l'Europa continui a perdere competitività e forza industriale. Quindi per un'Europa che non si arrende a una mera ideologia iperambientalista, ma che sappia valorizzare la propria industria, le proprie risorse e affrontare le sfide del cambiamento climatico in modo intelligente e responsabile, promuoviamo politiche che rispettino l'ambiente ma che non sacrifichino economia e futuro. È il momento di rivedere il Green Deal, di promuovere politiche energetiche intelligenti e di garantire che le materie prime critiche non siano più un peso ma una risorsa per l'Europa. Solo così potremo tornare a essere protagonisti senza più subire le politiche dai paesi terzi. Grazie.
Thanks, Susanna Ceccardi. There are several points to discuss about. Before giving the word immediately to MEP González, because he has to leave, I apologize, I forgot to introduce Rudy Ruggeri, who is the EFG Managing Director. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to meet you before the event, and I'm very bad with names, and I'm better with persons, so that's why. But let's run to Mr. González, because he has to leave. He's a member of the European Parliament and a Spanish member of the European Parliament. So we can talk about him, about Green Deal, natural disaster, and so floor is yours.
First, I have to say one thing, very important thing. I'm not a climate denial. Climate change is happening. Climate change kills people. And climate change is anthropogenic. And without left away and phase out fossil fuels, we will have more problems in the future. This is my statement after this opening words from another colleague from another group. I have a different, completely different view of what is happening in the world and what is happening in Europe. Because here in Europe, you know better than me that you are geologists, but you don't work in Europe in the oil and gas sector. Why? Because we don't have fossil fuels. We don't have fossil fuels in Europe. We have other sources of energy. There are renewables. We are living an energy transition that should be just. And this is the European Green Deal. How to go through this energy transition, to go to a decarbonization, taking into account social justice and the needs of the people that works, and the needs of new investments and business. This is the European Green Deal, now also call it the Clean Industrial Deal, that it will be in the first 100 days of the new European Commission. And I think that for this transition, we are going to need a massive amount of raw materials and of course critical new materials. And we need this in Europe also. We need this supply here in Europe. We need new mines in Europe in order to comply with our necessities of supply. We need more raw materials for cars, for the development of renewables. And we need this in a sustainable manner, because we are relying on other blocks. We will need, of course, imports of raw materials, but we need also to have into account that we need to build our own supply here in Europe. We cannot only rely on people that, for example, they don't have enough good conditions of works in other countries. We need also better jobs in Europe for mining and for this sector. So my message is very clear. We are committed with this transition because we need to fight against climate change, but also we need to switch our model of fossil fuels to a model based on renewable energies and electrification. And let me be very clear. There are some people saying lies about fake news about the new developments of the energy transition. For example, the electric vehicles. They say they are not sustainable because we have to use new materials, or the digital devices that are not sustainable because we had to use new materials. And it's true, we will have to use new materials, but we also are betting in circular economy. And this circular economy also helps us to reduce our footprint in nature and ecosystems. So please be confident. The electric vehicles are more sustainable than a combustion engine. It's true, because we are taking fossil oil and gas from the subsoil, burning it and give CO2 to the atmosphere. And this CO2 is not reusable, not recyclable. But all the materials that we are mining, we can recycle again and again. You have this bottle cap. How many times this bottle cap was in a bottle? How many times? We really don't know. So we have to bet in this idea that will be also an European solution, because we will fight against climate change, but we can build our sustainable and renewable economy in Europe that won't be based in fossil fuels. So I think there is an opportunity in this clean industrial deal, and I hope for sure that geologists are going to be one of the main agents and actors in this transition. And you are needed. And you are needed also in the territories and the regions, saying to the people that the things that you do are sustainable. The things that you do in Europe can comply with very high environmental standards, because we have the highest standards in the world regarding this sector. So this is part also of our job as representative and policymakers in our constituencies, but also to the people working in the sector. So this is my message. We have to go through this energy transition. We are not going enough fast, because we are seeing that climate change is already happening and kill people. So we are not going already fast, we are going slow. We have to accelerate, and it's impossible to accelerate in this clean transition without your support. So please work all together in order to get a better Europe, a sustainable Europe, and a Europe that is committed in the fight against climate change. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Mr. González. I know that you have to run. I would have many questions for you, but I think you get time just for one question?
One question.
Quick question, 2 minutes one. Because I was just intrigued by, because you said Europe needs more mining effort to provide more raw materials. On the other hand, we have to protect our environmental standards. What's your 2 minutes solution to that as a member of the Industrial Committee of the Parliament, taking also into account the need that we have to kill low the energy cost in Europe?
For sure, you are needed also to reduce our bills, because yes, if we have a continuous supply of some of these materials made in Europe, we can reduce, for example, the bill of the turbines or whatever. But in any case, it's true that we need to comply with very high environmental standards. We need to comply. But we are giving us these standards in order two things: protect nature, of course, don't make the nature worse, and second, to engage local communities. You know better than me that when you want to open a mine in a territory, you have a position. But you can convince this opposition saying that you are complying with the highest standards in the world. And the part of your work in this mine is going to also be part of this local community. They also can gain jobs, but they gain jobs in a sustainable mode, in a mode that is good for all, not for these people, for all the region, and also for the society, because we are winning new materials into our autonomous territory. So this is my main message, and we know that in the next 100 days we will have the clean industrial deal that will be connected with the critical raw materials. I hope so. So we will have more news about it.
Thanks very much.
Sorry, I have to go. I have no more time for questions, but maybe in future. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. González.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for having me here. I really do appreciate it, and the acknowledgement that we have a little gender diversity on the panel. Because I do come from the States, I do want to just take a moment to give you a little bit of my background and how I got here. And I'm always the first to say, I am not a geologist. I'm an ecologist. And I've spent nearly 40 years in education and in my work studying and advancing ecology in the United States. I came to the European Federation of Geologists about 2 years ago as part of a leadership program because I work for the US federal government. And in that leadership program, I came to EFG as the interim director of stakeholder engagement. And it was such an incredible experience. It was so eye-opening to me that I now have been volunteering for the organization as their global ambassador for also an additional year. And I hope to continue to remain involved with the organization. I think it's important to understand that context and to know that I am not a geologist, but I believe, and I'm not a European, but I believe so greatly in the value of geology and geoscience and in what Europe is trying to do, that I am giving of my time to come and be with everyone and to spend a little over a week in Azerbaijan at the COP29 climate conference just before coming here. I think that, you know, from my global perspective, we all know that, well, I guess I shouldn't say we all know, there are still many people who do not believe or understand that we are undergoing a significant change in our climate and that we are the doing of that. There's still that messaging to be had, but I do believe that we have to continue to move on and let others handle that part of the conversation. The best part about geology is it is the basis of everything. Geology is the study of the earth. And so it has to be at the beginning, at every step in the process, and at the end of all of these conversations. I think David said earlier, he spoke about the importance of, I think it was David, about geology at the beginning of the supply chain. So if you think about, you can think about supply chains with, you know, respect to that economic context, but really everything that we talk about is a supply chain, right? And so I think it's useful to look at life in the context of being a supply chain as well. And we all need to be part of those discussions. But geologists and what this group of individuals, what this group of nations that EFG represents, the organizations that we represent, we're working on the solutions. We have been working on the solutions all along. So while all of the conversation is being had and all of the dispute continues with respect to how did we get here, is it or is it not real, all of those sorts of things, when all of that noise is happening, the geologists that are in this room and the nearly 50,000 that EFG represents through those national associations, they're getting it done. And that was one of the very big messages that we took to the COP climate conference, is that, you know, we continue to work on finding solutions. This organization is phenomenal at putting together research projects that meet all of what we expect. And part of what I talked about when I was at COP was that one of my observations of EFG, having worked with them for a couple of years now, is that they act as an incubator. I don't think they know that they have been acting as an incubator. That certainly is not one of their drivers. But as we were sitting in COP, and this was, for those of you who don't know, this particular COP was focused on finance and the billions, and probably should be trillions of dollars that need to be invested were being discussed. David and I were making the case that while all of that is necessary, particularly because of Horizon 2020 and the subsequent funding mechanisms from the European Union, we have these small projects that we're able to put together. And we're doing those projects, now I shouldn't say we, I have nothing to do with these projects other than they're so fabulous that I want to promote them, but there are several individuals out in this audience and along this table that work within those projects every day and submit those applications and make these things possible. But what I noticed when I looked at our over 24 projects, we have sort of 4 things that they really represent. Of course, it's the science and technology, because they're doing original research, right? We're also focused on education, and that really is, I think, a really key part of what we are trying to do. Not just university education, that is a big part of it, but also how do we get better education at the primary and secondary levels? How do we get women and young girls interested in geoscience, right? All of these things help to support this just transition, not just environmental justice, but social justice as well. And then we have a brand new project, our Fic Fighters project, that is looking at waste and how do we take industrial and building waste and make viable products for the future. These are solutions that we are offering now. And I think that with those experiences, those individuals and all of the partners that we have in those projects that are not necessarily in this room, those are the folks that need to be brought to the table to tell you, respectfully, how to move forward. Education, I think, is really key. One of the points that we made at every opportunity when we were at COP was to talk about education. And when I say education, primary, secondary, tertiary, continual learning, right? So the EFG Academy has been mentioned a couple of times. That's a really critical part of what our organization offers to keep growing professionals, right? So, I mean, here I am spending 2 years learning about an entirely new science that is very different from my own. That continual learning is really critical. But we also spent a lot of time, and there were many, many conversations at COP about critical minerals this year. There were hardly any last year. It felt so good to know that we actually had conflicting opportunities. There weren't enough of us to move around and be in all of the conversations because so many were happening. There was also an entire day dedicated to youth and education and skill building. We had several conversations about skill building, and with the European Geologists, and I'm going to look at Janos in case I get the details incorrect, because it's not what I'm an expert at, but you have to be in the profession for 8 years. Is it 8 years, Janos, before you can even apply for the accreditation? Almost 10. Okay, so almost 10. So if you think about that, you're transitioning into mid-career before you can even have that certification. And so it is really important, but it takes too long, right? And so that was part of the conversation. How do we add in other opportunities for people to be certified, for the public to understand what is that they can trust, right? To me, the European geologist is really critical. It's something that other sectors do not have, and because we have to move so rapidly in order to make the difference that is necessary, the public needs to understand that they can trust us. And that's what the European Geologists title gives the public, gives industry, gives governments. And as part of the CRISCO standard, there are others of these around the world. I'm somewhat connected to an individual with the American Institute of Professional Geologists that oversees that competent person certification in the United States as well. And I think that these are really critical, but how do we get something earlier in the career, right? And how do we expand certifications into other parts of the geology sector? I think that was quite a bit of what we discussed at COP as well. We had a few goals when we went into COP. I think we met all of those goals. Part of that was to get to be invited to speak as many times as possible. Between David and I, we had 7 separate speaking engagements to talk about critical minerals, to talk about geothermal, also carbon capture, storage, and of course education. And we were happy that we were able to do all of that. I think we had several outcomes, and I'll close my remarks with some of the outcomes that we achieved at COP. We were able to promote the projects and the work that we're doing in the respect that we also wanted to reach out to other organizations to say, hey, come work with us, right? That we don't work in isolation. We want to work across sectors, across disciplines, and we invite others to work with us. We were able to begin a dialogue with several additional European nations at their pavilions, as well as several African nations, and that's also a focus that we had going in there. And then ultimately, we want to have a better strategy going into COP30 in Brazil so that we can have an even better impact. Because ultimately that's what we're trying to do, is to influence not only within Europe, but globally. Thank you.
Thanks for gathering. Education is really key to shed the right light to the science and to get more results. As we have just 30 minutes left, I would like to give you the chance to ask questions, because I'm sure your questions will be more interesting than mine. But please allow me just to ask a single question to Mr. Govoni first, because I heard that you have been to COP29 as well. So I'm curious to know what you think might be the role of the geologists, let's say, in the Green Deal, the green transition, taking into account this key work that I wrote down during the presentation of the other speakers. I wrote down raw materials, resource management, environmental protection, reducing the impact of climate change, natural disaster risk reduction, and I would say my own water security, land use planning, and understanding Earth.
Well, I think you already answered also to the question. So the point, I think, is pretty much everything that is talked at COP. So geologists are really key person in almost every one of the topics that are discussed at COP. And what is surprising, and already had the same experience also last year at COP28, is that often you are asked by really unexpected people why geologists are here. So when we were in COP, and this year I was very, very surprised, because I was asked this question from someone from a space agency, so working with remote sensing, and it was asked why geologists are here. So I'm sure there is a lot of communication we still have to do to the public, to the institution, to explain why geologists are needed in COP. But the answer was already in your question. So pretty much everything: resource management, energy, disaster prevention. So in all of them, you can mention, you just pick up one, and in that one, geologists are at the very beginning of everything that is coming after.
And you can make it's a challenging task.
It is, but we are here today, so it's a good beginning.
can't, they will.
For sure. We are doing actually, we are here doing. And you have so many representatives of European nations, and I would like to mention that it's not only European Union, but the countries member of ERG are member of the Council of Europe. So you have also other countries not member of the 27. And I think this is really a strength of the ERG. You have, I think, here represented our UK National Association. You have Serbia. I'm not sure we have others here, but I mean, it's a really strong community, and not only within the 27 countries, it's the Council of Europe. And this is really a big value of the association, I think.
So thanks very much. So time has come for you to ask some questions. So from all the corner of Europe, please don't be shy. Present yourself first, and then shoot. Please.
Hello, I'm Chris Beesens, here for the Geological Survey of Belgium. So not from a very important corner of Europe, unfortunately. But I was, critical raw materials have been mentioned, and I think in the last 2 or 3 years we've seen geology rise at European level in importance in different acts, like also the Net Zero Industry Act. You haven't touched on this, but is geology actually getting more visibility at European level or at the DGs? How is your feeling about this? Is it just incidental, or is this actually a trend that we're seeing?
Who wanna take it?
Thank you very much for the very pertinent question. I do think that if we speak about the life of the European institution, I would say yes. But since I consider myself an ambitious person, I will think that we have to relaunch the visibility at the institutional level, and maybe a commitment that I will try to spread to the other colleagues will be to ask to organize a hearing of the Federation, of the European Federation, within the European Parliament, within the 2 most relevant committees that really need to hear you, to hear the Manifesto and your priorities, that are the ITRA committee and the ENVI committee. So the Industrial Technology Research Committee and Energy Committee, and the Environmental Committee. And those are the 2 also that normally are dealing with the biggest part of our legislation, especially concerning the Green Deal. But then there is a second visibility, and it's about the visibility of the general public opinion. And I think here we have a huge potential that is still unexploited. And I think that if we want to really make our points, what we really need are strong, clear, visible, touchable success stories. And I was reminding to myself an article I read a lot of years ago. It was 2009. It was written on Corriere della Sera, the most important newspaper in Italy, by Professor Franco Barberi. I went back to read about it. When he was speaking about discovery, he did that under the river that is passing through Rome, Tevere River, there is a second bigger river on the ancient path that is bigger than the one on the surface, and is even hotter. And his proposal was, why don't we use this big river, this important natural hydrographic resource, to heat all Rome, to make Rome one of the greenest capital all around the world. It's cheap, it's absolutely without any kind of emission, and we can put back the water into the cycle once it has been exploited to heat all these buildings. It has an average of 20 degrees Celsius, pH is neutral, is not polluted, there is no contamination. And my big question to you and to myself is, why we didn't do that? Why we are 15 years after and we forgot about this fantastic proposal? And well, I will tell you that if this would have been implemented, not simply all Europe, but all the world would have spoke about this, with the visibility that an important nation capital as Rome
So when we speak about the potential, in this case of geothermal, let's not just speak of what we do have already in Tuscany, in Larderello. Let's think out of the box, and let's think about the power of the success stories to be understood easier by the general opinion. And again, that's the commitment, because we were speaking about, of course, social justice, just nutrition, to be incubator of innovation. Well, it's really time to go in depth without a force, and who is more professional and effective to go in depth than geologists? So that's my answer. Thank you.
Hope you got your answer. Who's next? Please.
Grazie dell'invito, caro amico collega Davide Govoni. Rappresento il Sindacato Nazionale dei Geologi Liberi Professionisti Italiani. Vorrei esordire col dire che sono intanto stato un allievo di Alterio Spinelli, al quale va il mio ringraziamento per quello che ha saputo dare a noi giovani di allora. Lui amava dire che l'Europa è nel mondo, ed è così oggi più di prima. Porto i saluti, tra l'altro, della Confederazione Italiana Liberi Professionisti, la Conf Professioni, e del CEPIS, presenti qui in Europa, Confederazione Europea dei Liberi Professionisti. Ho avuto modo di intavolare con loro, quale aderente, una opportunità di coinvolgimento di tutti i prestatori di opere intellettuali che rappresentano la nostra Confederazione. La istituzione di una commissione permanente di dissesto idrogeologico della Confprofessione, che ha voluto fortemente il Singeo nel 2015, rappresenta di fatto una novità, quello di voler discutere dell'adattamento al cambiamento climatico, di riconoscere la necessità di coinvolgere tutte le attività professionali. È evidente che noi geologi, limitatamente alle opportunità e alle nostre conoscenze, possiamo essere conduttori di questa filiera. A voi politici naturalmente va fatto l'appello di questa sensibilizzazione e di avere di darci la possibilità di essere presenti ogni dove mancano nelle regioni, nelle comunità, la presenza del geologo è indispensabile. Non è concepibile che sia assente il geologo che è conoscente di questa scienza, ed è prioritaria una pianificazione territoriale per comprendere dove è possibile l'insediamento urbanistico, anziché attività di carattere estrattivo, benché necessario e indispensabile. Coniugare quindi quelli che sono gli aspetti della utilizzazione di risorse minerarie rispetto alla conservazione dell'ambiente. È necessario ed è urgente perché col cambiamento climatico noi non abbiamo più tempo da perdere. Grazie.
Thanks for your contribution. If someone of us want to follow up, not a real question, but it's a very interesting point.
I think it's in line with what we said before. So it's the fact that we need to accelerate, this process, and then support the stakeholders, the policies, and introduce our professional as much as possible in the society. I mean, Guglielmo Emanuele said that his dream is to see a geologist in every single municipality, which would be really nice, honestly, because if we need to plan, our territory, our municipality, a geologist should be there. And then this is really in line with what we said before. We speak about raw materials, we speak about environmental planning, we speak about water scarcity, we speak about geothermal energy. Everything we speaks about geology, geoscience. So, which means that if every single municipality has a doctor, it means that every single municipality should have a geology or geoscience.
Just a short comment that this is why we made this manifesto, that to draw attention of profession and in a very close future, I'm sure that without geologists we cannot reach the target what Mr. Draghi said. So we are a key person for helping the European progress.
Just want to add, really 1 second. I want to add, and I totally agree with everything, but another point I think that Dr. Emanuele mentioned, and I think is important, is interdisciplinarity. So you mentioned work with other professionals, so I totally agree, geologists are essential at the base, but it's very important as well to work with the others. And I remember when we were planning in our board the events of 2025, and the person in charge of external relations, Pavlos, in our team say, probably we should target all the meetings where geologists are not there. So the opposite, not go at the meeting of geologists, but go to the other meetings, to talk with the other, because where there are already geologists talking, we don't need to be there. We need to be at the meetings where they aren't.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to the discussion of, a geologist in every municipality. Wouldn't that be fabulous? But I think also we have to recognize that that statistics are showing us worldwide that interest in geology as a profession is going down significantly at a time when we need it to be going up very significantly. And so I think in addition to everything that we've talked about, we also need to be finding solutions for getting young people interested in the profession, and it has to happen now, and it has to happen in a very large way so that we have the professionals necessary to be in every municipality. And I think that's another, if I could impart any wisdom to the MEPs is that there needs to be an investment in people, right? And we need to not only just in the education, but we also in promoting the profession, right? And that investment needs to be made immediately. And in addition, with the geologists that we do have, particularly because geologists hold themselves to very high ethical standards, and we have certifications worldwide. We need to be able to make it very easy for geologists to move around. Mobility is very important, and so where we can make inroads in making it very easy for geologists to move between nations to do their work, I think that's very important.
Yeah, please.
When we made the manifesto, really suggested to mention that the mankind is a geological agent. So we totally be able to change the groundwater system, groundwater flow system, the surface processes, and a lot of things. So to understand this effect and to solve the problems, we need to have geologists. Otherwise, we lose the control, and mankind will be in big trouble. I fully agree with this suggestion. This is why I mentioned.
Geology Germany. Mr. Castaldo said that we have the technologies in Europe, right? I doubt it. I mean, the internationally operating mining industry is almost gone. Smelting and so forth needs energy, which can be paid. Energy is too expensive, so smelting energy is also on the way out of Europe. The big mining companies are hosted outside EU 27 for whatever reason. We do have FDIs, but limited. The patents are basically in China, so we are, I guess, at a tipping point. What's your impression there? And when you look at the Critical Raw Materials Act, I really like it, I really appreciate it, but I'm wondering about the numbers which are put in there, which I feel are a bit unfeasible to achieve within the next 6 years, when you consider that it takes about 20 years and sometimes more to even get an expansion of a normally mine in Europe. So what would you feel what we need to do to really give it a push?
Thank you very much for your question. I would like to underline the fact that I didn't say that we do have technology, we must have, we should have. We'll control directly more than 60% of the production of the batteries of lithium ions, just in 2 years. That means that, of course, if we are not able to accept this challenge industrially, technologically, we'll be somehow the control of a large part of the production, the technologies we do need to implement the goals of the Green Deal will be not in our hands. And trust me, when I speak about sovereignty, it's extremely important to remind ourselves that sovereignty is a wonderful concept if you have the means to implement it and to defend it. Otherwise, it will become just an empty word, an ambitious but empty word. And without technological sovereignty, there is no other sovereignty that you can defend. And that's why we are here, because as European nations, we are unfit to defend our sovereignty if you are not doing that all together, with a common effort, with a real budget, mobilizing resources. And here's your role, because you, just with your professionality, with the network you have established of 50,000 experts across the 27 member states, with the partnership you are also developing with other like-minded partners, Australia, US, Canada, but also, let me say, with the efforts you are doing in sets, an ambitious level of standardization of your professionality. And here I would like to praise what you have done with the AOGL certification, for example, with the EFG Academy. Those are extremely important and very relevant tools because it gives also the certainty that in each country, in each corner of Europe, we will find with the same certification, the same level of competencies. Well, you are telling us how to do that. You are telling us what is possible and what will become possible. And I have a few examples, of course, of what is the impact of the professionality and how is going to give a clear answer also in terms of potential exploit of the resources we are now discovering. In the 70s, not so far away from my hometown, I come from Rome, we discovered the very important relevant vapor of lithium close to the Lake of Bracciano. But in the 70s, science industry was not able to exploit them. There was no industrial use of them, so it wasn't discovered, it was just put beside. And just recently, we understood how fundamental, how crucial they can be, of course, in terms of achieving the green transition and ensure that this transition will be sustainable. We will not lose competitiveness, we will not lose jobs. So I remind once more that your work is fundamental to create a strong alliance we do need for the Green Deal. And this partnership should have on board the EU institutions, our national member states, government, you as representative of science, and all the other branches of science that are involved in this sector, and industry all together. Because if just one part of this team is not engaged, not committed, we will not be able to get it. And what is very important that you have a full acknowledgement of this. I was really pleased to read your manifesto, and when I read that you point out on safety and security, well, I say fantastic, because you understood that we need to implement a culture of prevention. As it has been said before, when we're speaking about mining, local communities are really concerned, and they are fearing that somehow their normal will be affected by a new normal in which their environment, the ecosystem will be affected. No, because we can do this, we have the technology, we have the means to implement a proportionality in our approach, to defend, and somehow even to protect, even better, the ecosystem without denying the needs that we have of critical raw materials for our effort and our industry. But the same also important concept is about, that you point out, is on sustainability. Let's remind ourselves that we have to do still a lot on circular economy for the critical raw materials. Because if you have, we give a look just at the statistics, the percentage of raw materials we are trying to recycle and to re-put again into the production is very low. And again, we need your expertise to create new technologies to do that and to be effective in that regard. And last but not the least, again, education. Education, not simply to set out ambitious standards for the professionality, but also for the people, for the public opinion. That's why I think in the importance of to try to have a occasion like this one, to that with clear points, with help for us as a legislator to calibrate our legislative action and to ensure that the package of the regulation and the directives we will vote will fulfill our needs, but also will be somehow compliant with reality. But on the other side, the need to have this alliance is fundamental to bring outside of the institutions to the public opinion, to the people, the result of this cooperation, and to explain that without these efforts, probably we will not simply will not be able to tackle climate change, but will become more and more marginal and less relevant at the global stage. Because as it has been said, US, China, they are doing massive investment in that regard, and I don't want to see a Europe that is dependent from other technology, other kind of industrial production. And again, I do think that we have, and I close here, a very important role also in the prevention of natural disasters. We have all in mind the tragedies that affected many of the countries in all corners of Europe. Could be sometimes in Southern Europe, in the Balkans, Northern Europe. And in fact, unfortunately, this is also a spillover effect of the climate change. Well, together with you, we can mitigate this risk. We can try to implement new models of prevention and try to get ready, not simply to react, but again, to try to prevent. That is the best kind of approach and medicine we can try to implement. I will stop here. If there is any question, I will be glad to answer, but my small suggestion is do not be shy. Continue in the same direction that you are doing right now with this manifesto, and try to be always present to give us also your voice and your recommendation to each piece of the legislation of the Green Deal and all the relevant other acts that this new parliament will be called to vote, because without this expertise, without a data-driven approach, I'm sure that our success will not be guaranteed. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much. To Mr. Castaldo. Indeed, I have several questions for you, but I think it's better to do a full roundtable before asking some questions, also because you have 10 years of experience, so you know things in this house. I would jump to Professor Janos Szanyi, who, as I said before, is the EFG Policy Manifesto leader, manifesto that will be presented today, and is also coordinator of the European Federation of Geothermal Experts. So you must be pretty much informed about the status of this science in Europe. So please.
So, thanks. But before I start, I'd like to thank the contribution of our national associations, and I'd like to highlight David and Anita, who get a lot of effort, and who make a lot of effort to do this. So, first of all, why we made this manifesto? You have heard a lot of things about this, but if I'd like to give an outlook, so you know that after the millennium, Europe faced unexpected challenges, and being at critical turning point or tipping point, we are balancing on the edge. So without action, we risk our prosperity, environment, and freedom. And as you know, that Mr. Draghi said that Europe needs robust industrial strategy based on sustainable, low carbon emission energy and low material production. So we need to have a rapid implementation of this reform. And what we offer, I mean the EFG offer. So EFG, one of the largest, most influential network of geosciences professionals in Europe, with 27 national associations and almost 50,000 geologists. So we can offer quick cooperation covering whole Europe for decision preparing and decision making processes without red tape. I think it's quite important in Brussels. And our members who has a Eurogeo certification title guarantees the highest ethical and professional standards, which proves that they are a competent person. And the EFG has an academy which ensures a high level of up-to-date knowledge of the implementation of new innovations, for example, in critical raw materials production and extraction and research, of course. And it was mentioned that we have expert panels which provide science-based technical insights for sustainable industrial strategies, and these groups offer high-level experience for relevant resources like geothermal, hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, groundwater management, and natural hazard prevention. And if you don't mind, I'd like to highlight the geothermal part because I work on this topic. So we work a lot of projects in Europe, and we realized that one of the biggest bottleneck in this sector is the missing risk mitigation fund. Unfortunately, the countries individually not enough big to cover this problem, so it's a really European level task to solve this. And I need to say that in case of geothermal, we harvested the low-hanging fruits. So if we want to get the higher one from the trees, we need to have a ladder, but this ladder is science and innovation. So we need to have more money for innovation in this sector to reach the scores what we want. So because of geothermal is the primary candidate for diversifying our energy supply, and geothermal could be a major step towards low carbon sustainable future, especially in heating in Europe. There are some numbers. So by the year 2050, geothermal energy will be able to supply 10 or more of our Europe electricity consumption, or more than 25% of all heating and cooling demands, and can it be able to contribute to total lithium demand. And the new topic is the underground thermal energy storage, which can reduce the energy wastage by saving energy and to give it for district heating. So all in all, I think that geothermal is a very good baseload energy. If you compare the other renewables, like wind and photovoltaic, which are growing very quickly, they behave as a racehorse, quite quick in short period. But geothermal is a pack horse, so can operate much longer period than the others. So I think that's it what I wanted to say, and I give the mic to the other colleagues.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much indeed. Geothermal must play an important role in the near future if you want to achieve what we said about economy, competition, and Green Deal. Let's pop to Rudy Ruggeri, EFG Managing Director, for the next as the next speaker.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, and yeah, I mean, I'm here in the representation of the president of CNG, Franco Violo, and I'm very happy, honestly, also excited to be here in this room today, because that has been, if you remember, my colleagues from EFG, when we discussed it, probably was 2 years ago, then we said we want to speak, louder about our profession. We want to be in the heart of the institutions. We want to be here and having the MSPs close to us, understanding what we can offer to the society in order to, solve these complex problems, right? And I'm so happy today that we are here, we are doing that. So we are moving towards the right direction. And so we spoke about, critical raw materials, climate change, energy transition. This is the 3 elements of our, challenge we have all together, right? And then I heard about, the speech from the MEPs, Susanna Ceccardi, Nicolás, González, and you, Castaldo, speaking about what we can do. And then I perceived some differences, honestly, in the way we see a greener future. Someone said that we need to decelerate a little bit about the Green Deal. We need to be more sustainable in terms of economics. Someone else said we need to push more. So what's the point of balance in doing the right thing? I know that we know that, this big shift we need to do is to really create new jobs for people that will be losing their jobs. Speaking about geologists, for example, we had thousands of geologists working in the oil and gas sector. Now we need to transform those jobs into the geologists that will model the way to capture CO2 into the saline aquifers. We need to change all that kind of stuff. So the challenge is very big, and we, in our humble point of view, we have solutions. We already have solutions. Janos spoke about geothermal before. We have solutions. Low enthalpy, for example, geothermal solutions can be applied to every single house of this region in Europe. Everywhere you go, you can install a heating pump and then heat your house. Why you guys here can drive directives by which we immediately create actions in every country where is incentivize the use of geothermal low enthalpy for every single house. Why not? And we are pushing in that direction, and why we see resistance in this. Why we see resistance in using our profession in environmental planning in urban areas and also extra-urban areas. What happened in Valencia is an example. We, as geologists, can offer, what are the risks, the natural risks, and offer a way to plan better, to live on this planet. So, we are here. We are offering our contributions. We would like to be listened more, honestly, and be part of your working groups here in this, heart of institutions where we can provide our knowledge. And the last thing, I'm a little bit worried as a father of 2 kids, as we all are, most of all are, father and mothers. What we can tell to our kids for the future. If you look at in the past on this planet, a living species has been extincted after 5 million, years lived on this planet. We as a human being, we are here since 300,000 years. I'm not sure if we will get 5 million years living on this planet, because I think our stupidity risk, to close that game first. So it's really the right time to speed up, and then I think we have really, we can really offer solutions, and we are really proud to be part of this, mechanism. Thank you very much.